Howdy, my name is Nonat, and if you don't know, wizards are my favorite class in any TTRPG, and Pathfinder 2e is no exception. Pathfinder 2e is also getting a remaster next month, and about a week ago, we found out exactly how our boy the wizard is getting treated in that remaster, and I'm pretty happy about it. You see, a lot of you might be wondering, why does the wizard need big changes? Well, it's because at its core, the wizard has always been about those schools of magic: evocation, transmutation, illusion, abjuration, enchantment. All of those are in the Wizards of the Coast OGL, meaning that if Pathfinder 2e wanted to continue using them, they would need to stay under the OGL, which the big reason for this remaster is to move it from the Open Gaming license to the ORC license. One of these days I'll remember what ORC stands for. Open Role-Playing Content License? I can't remember. But if you remove all of those schools, the wizard suddenly loses a lot of what makes it. I mean, hell, one of its current subclasses is picking what school of magic you've specialized in. So, Paizo has had a very, very clever solution. But before we get into exactly how they fixed it, this video is sponsored by love. And I'm only like half kidding. This video is once again sponsored by our friends at the Loading Crew team with their complete waifu handbook. The Loading Crew specifically reached out to me because they knew I was going to be making a video covering these wizard changes, and they just so happened to be releasing a new wizard subclass for Pathfinder 2e. The Love Wizard. Or as they're calling it, the Amor doctrina, which sounds way cooler. So rather than just give you a basic sponsorship, I'm just going to give you a preview of what this is going to look like for Pathfinder 2e, namely the thesis and a few of the feat options, because honestly, they're real damn cool. Keep in mind, this is not final and may look different in the final product, but as it stands, the Amor doctrina thesis is really cool. You do not have a spell book, rather you tattoo all of your spells onto your body. And you get an extra spell slot for every level of spell you can cast. Whoa, that's insane. Except it's not, because every time you take damage, you have a 25% chance of losing your highest level available spell slot. I love this. How cool is that? You know, if you can cast 4th level spells, you get 4 extra spells a day. But if you take a hit, you have a chance of losing a spell. I love that. That's really, really clever. What's really fun about this subclass is it's all about interacting with a partner, or at least an ally. Look at the aftercare feat. Once per day, if you treat wounds on a target with a focus pool, on top of restoring hit points, they also get a focus point back. And if you're legendary in medicine, they get 2 focus points back. Super cool interaction with your allies. Or post-rest clarity. If you have spent 8 hours within someone's arms, then once per day on the following day, you can re-roll any failed will save. Though, let's talk about the elephant in the room here, Loading Crew. Requirements: you spend 8 hours of rest embraced by a humanoid creature? Melissa Belladonna will have some words for you. This is such a cool looking subclass, and if this interests you, then click my link in the description and check out the rest of the complete waifu handbook, because they've got a ton of stuff, not just for PF2, but also Pathfinder 1st edition and D&D 5th edition. You won't be disappointed if you support them. They have crushed their goal. Let's see if we can crush it a little bit more. Thank you, Loading Crew, for sponsoring this video. Let's talk about wizards. I guess we were just talking about wizards. Let's talk about a different kind of wizards that don't kiss each other as much. So, what is Paizo's fix to wizards not getting spell schools? Well, they get schools. Literal, actual schools that they study in to teach them magics from a specific curriculum. You've got the School of Battle, which is going to give you things like Fireball, Weapon Storm, True Target. You're going to get the School of Civic Wizardry. I love this. That's giving you things like Hydraulic Push to fight fires, Summon Construct and Wall of Stone to aid in the construction of buildings, Water Walk for certain. They're giving reasoning here. I love this. We've gotten confirmation of a School of Mentalism, which is showcasing how some of the focus spells are actually getting reworked. It's reworking one of the focus spells of Charming Words into Charming Push. Since the School of Mentalism is about magically altering someone's mind, it's losing the auditory and lingual traits. You shouldn't need to share a language or have them hear you in order to just magically alter their perception. I love this. This opens the door not only for Paizo to post a bunch of really cool wizard school ideas, but the homebrew potential is insane. There'll be schools of the elements, there'll be schools of specific fighting styles, there'll be schools of summoning, schools of everything. It'll be so wide. I think this is going to open the door for so many people to not only homebrew their own schools, but their own spells. Each school is going to come with its own unique focus spell, and maybe if there's not enough spells to support a very specific type of curriculum, like the School of Performance. What about a Wizardry School of Performance? Maybe it comes with dancing lights and some auditory-based spells. Maybe there's not enough spells currently existing for that school. People are going to write their own to fill out their own curriculum, and that is badass. This could open the door to the most versatile wizard in any TTRPG. Hundreds of different spells specifically tailored for individual curriculums. I love this. They're also getting some brand new feats, some that currently exist, and some new ones like Secondary Detonation Array, which literally means after casting your spell, there's a small delay, and then that area you cast it explodes in force damage. You pick a 5-foot burst within the area of a spell you just cast, and then at the beginning of your next turn, it explodes, dealing 1d6 damage per spell rank. That's so cool. You throw out a 4th level fireball, somebody else holds an enemy in place, and you can set up that burst right underneath the enemy, who just took 6d6 from your fireball, and then takes another 3d6 because they're caught in the secondary detonation array. So freaking cool. Wait a second, it doesn't even say a spell slot. They might fix this. That doesn't even say it needs to be a spell slot, which maybe that's why it's level 14, but we'll talk in a little bit about a new confirmed cantrip that is an area effect that deals damage. If you can use Secondary Detonation Array on your cantrips, which are auto-heightened to your highest available rank, that's insane. You know what? Let's jump right into it. Let's talk about how some spells are changing. We are losing Acid Splash and gaining Caustic Blast. This is a new cantrip and represents a change to cantrips. You see, unlike a lot of current cantrips, they are removing the spellcasting modifier from their damage. And I know this has a lot of people up in arms. No longer are your spells going to be dealing 1d6 plus intelligence modifier. It's all going to be flat damage dice. And they said pretty much across the board, no spells are going to be adding your spellcasting modifier to the damage anymore. And I think that is a very bold move, but a very understandable move. One of the things they say here is they want to keep spells consistent. It's weird if some spells add the modifier and some don't. It's never really explained why they do, so I'm totally for this change. A lot of people have been complaining that spellcasters are too weak, but I don't think they've really played spellcasters. I've been a GM of PF2 for 3 years. Spellcasters put in so much work, so much area damage, so much unique control that normal martial characters couldn't even hope to meet. So a net -4 damage on cantrips is not going to nerf them into the ground, contrary to what some YouTube comments might lead you to believe. So, Caustic Blast, way better than Acid Splash. You pick a 5-foot burst, which remember, that's a 2x2 square. You pick the corner of one square, and it affects all 4 adjacent squares to that corner. That's an amazing area for a cantrip, and it deals 1d8 acid damage on a basic reflex save. If you hit 2 or 3 creatures with this, even if they all succeed, that's going to be on average like 6 or 7 damage. That's great! The downside is that it does heighten very slowly. It only heightens every 2 spell ranks, which means levels like 4 and 8 are going to be incredibly weak because you'll be like a level 4 character dealing 1d8 acid damage. But if it combines with that wizard feat we just saw, like I said, it deals damage, it has an area, then this could be followed up by an explosion dealing damage equal to your spell rank. That's insane. Or 1d6 damage per spell rank. So if you're level 14 when you pick up that feat and you cast Caustic Blast, then as long as the enemy doesn't move and they're in that 5-foot burst, they're just taking 7d6 bonus damage. That's rad. The other big change to spellcasting, as we saw in the Animist guide, is how spellcasting proficiency works. No longer are you trained in divine spells and primal spells and arcane spells and occult spells. Those are no longer separate. You are just trained in spellcasting. spell attack rolls, and spell DC. If you're a cleric and you pick up the wizard dedication, you cast those spells using the same bonus. The only difference is the ability score you use to cast it. I love this because it allows spellcasters to make more use of spellcasting archetypes. You know, it's more noticeable at the higher levels, but you don't need to invest as much into a new archetype to get more out of it, which I think is great. Even if you never go beyond beginner spellcasting or benefits or whatever they're called, they'll still scale with your main class's spellcasting. So if you're a level 15 cleric and you take the basic spellcasting benefits from wizard, you're still casting those as a master spellcaster. It's great. So, a huge change to spellcasting as well is the removal of components. Somatic, material, and focus components have all been removed from the game and simply replaced by adding the manipulate trait to spells. So basically, all of these different traits were fancy ways of saying your character has to make a movement to make the spell happen, and that would trigger an attack of opportunity because those components gave it the manipulate trait. Now, if we look at Caustic Burst, the manipulate trait is just in the traits of the spell: acid, cantrip, concentrate, and manipulate. It's just there now. I think that's way simpler. Now, if your GM asks, does that spell provoke an attack of opportunity? You can say, the spell has the manipulate trait. Yes. There's a few other changed spells and updated spells here, like Waking Nightmare, which is super cool. 2-action will save, and if they fail, they're frightened 2. If they were asleep when you cast it, they wake up paralyzed for a round. And whenever they take a strike while frightened from this effect, they take 1 bonus mental damage. Which, if they're frightened 3, they're going to be frightened for at least 3 turns. That just gives all of your teammates +1 damage on every single strike. Now keep in mind, it is strikes, so spell attack rolls do not count, but ranged and melee attacks do. Combine this with something like a monk or a flurry ranger who's hitting multiple times per round, that's a lot of bonus damage, and they're frightened, so they're easier to hit. Great spell. Interestingly, Shocking Grasp has been completely removed from the game and replaced by Thunderstrike, which is a little too similar to Sudden Bolt in my opinion, but it's possible they're just removing Sudden Bolt. This is a level 1 spell that deals 1d12 electric and 1d4 sonic damage on a basic reflex save, and if they're wearing metal armor, they take -1 to the save and are clumsy until the end of their next turn. Or actually 1 round, so until your turn. Nice little reliable damaging level 1 spell with a huge 120-foot reach. No complaints from me. And the final spell that's been previewed is the Tree of Seasons, a level 6 druid spell, or just primal spell, that lets you pull up a big tree with 4 pods in it, each one representing a different season and element. Anybody, you or otherwise, can grab a seed and lob it. It explodes in a 5-foot burst, basically as a 6d6 damage reflex save fireball that'll either deal electric, poison, cold, or fire damage. They have a range of 30 feet to be thrown. Overall, it's a really cool spell. It's a level 6 spell that basically summons 4 fireballs that you or your allies can all pick and throw. Very cool. There's some other small change spells that I'll throw up on screen, Light and Read Aura. Read Aura is mostly just changed to incorporate the removal of spell schools and just giving you the ability to improve your Identify Magic check on that item. Overall, I'm loving what the future of Magic looks like for Pathfinder 2e. I think it's going to be way more open, way more versatile, yet at the same time, way more clear what things can do. No more sometimes adding spellcasting modifiers, sometimes not. No more digging through the components to find out if it has manipulate or not. Everything is going to be right at face value, which I think is how spells should be. You shouldn't have to look at a spell and then look at a different effect to see what your spell does or can do. So I want to hear what you think. Do you like the changes to wizards? Do you like the changes to all these different spells and the manipulate trait and everything? Let me know what you think about the future of spellcasting in Pathfinder 2e. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you again, Loading Crew, for sponsoring this video. Click the link and support the complete waifu handbook. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, no nat ones.